Hey guys, welcome to another episode of She Knows Arsenal. My name is Jessica and I am your host, and you can follow me on Twitter at itsjessinio. It's right there at the bottom of the screen. So today I have the pleasure of having this conversation about the Wolves match with Sophie from Highbury Squad and Dan from Same Old Arsenal. I do wish that we were having this conversation or having this podcast in like a greater or a better scenario. You know, I'm still a little rocked and traumatized from yesterday, but we're just going to make it work. We're going to try to have a good time, talk about some of the bad stuff, and try to work our way back around to something positive. So let's get started. Hey guys. Hey.
How's it going?
It's I want to ask you guys how you guys are doing. Sophie, rack of ribs last night. How did that go down?
I went down a treat. I even had a twice baked potato, which was really decadent. It's not like me to carb it out, but I just went nuts. And I'm not going to lie, I hardly slept last night. This is so ridiculous. This hasn't happened to me with Arsenal in a long, long time. And I just couldn't switch it off last night at all. I got to bed at I don't know, maybe it was 4 a.m., woke up at 7. So I'm on 3 hours sleep, but I have old Mr. Java with me. So everything's good. Yeah, it was hard to shake that one off. It really was.
It really was. Like, I still feel like I've been jolted. You know, it's like an outer body experience. It really does feel a little bit like when we got knocked out of Europa League last year, like where I woke up and I was like, did that really happen? Dan, how are you feeling?
Do you know what? I'm good. I'm not so distraught as some people. I think what I've done with this team is grown to accept that they are not to be trusted. And I think that's why I've accepted it a little bit more. I think when you get into the stage of getting frustrated with this team, you will start to use the term, Arsenal, I love you, but F you, right? Because that is what people feel like. That is what people feel like. And I'm looking a little bit further outside of the box. I think if this was, like you say, just a Europa League game, I would be fuming right now. But it wasn't. It was a game that we can pick ourselves back up from and go ahead. Because do you know what? Everybody thought that game was going to get us top 4. And I've always been of the opinion that is just too much of an ask for us. So I think that may now, hopefully, give us more of a realistic view to try and get as much as we can into these Europa League games and go on a Europa League run, because that's what I'm looking forward to this season, ahead of the league games, because the league kind of already been messed up in September, October time. So I need to be realistic. And as much as it frustrated me last night, and I was really frustrated at half time, of course, like everybody was, I've kind of got over it now. I've accepted that it's time to move on and try and look forward as much as we can.
I think the issue, though, Dan, is that we were on a run, okay, and we had momentum. And I think most of us know we're not going to finish in the top 4, but we want to finish as high up in the league as possible, even to get a Europa League spot if we don't win the Europa League, because we need European money either way to help us be able to be more, competitive in the transfer market. The Europa League money comes in handy for a club that is really struggling. We've taken out the loan. We've had to pay off some of the player contracts, and we're looking to pay that loan back in the summer. So it's frustrating in the sense of that, and also the fact that we were on this 7 game beaten run. We were gaining momentum. A team that has been mentally impotent, started to find its groove. And to lose to the worst informed team in the entire Premier League, and we were the second form team after Manchester City, is a little bit of a tough pill to swallow. So from that point of view, and the discipline, the fact that we've had 9 red cards and the closest team after us is 3 red cards, that is a huge issue under Arteta. So for those reasons, I think that's kind of where I was really frustrated in terms of what happened last night.
Yeah, I think I land a little bit closer to Sophie on this one. I think it's with Arsenal, it's always the hope that kills you. And even though I agree with Sophie, I didn't think that Champions League was really realistic. I thought, Europa League is kind of what we're going for. We're trying to qualify for that. But it's just the way it happened, the way it unfolded. It's not like we lost to, like Sophie said, one of the better teams. They're the worst. They had the worst form, up until that point. And to me, in my opinion, they didn't do really anything to win that game. it was literally just handed to them,
Well,
so
that worldie was at first
the
I was like,
worldie, yes,
could Leno have saved that? And then I saw the replay and I was like, wow.
no
I mean,
way.
it went in off the post even. He was close to it. He wasn't too far off, Leno.
Yeah.
Give
And
him to be fair, but
I think if anybody could have saved that, it would have been Leno, because he's a really good shot stopper and he's usually good in those scenarios. So if he couldn't get it, then
yeah.
what can you do? But I did want to kind of just start the show off talking a little bit about the first half, because to me, I thought that was the best football that we played all season, and that's why I kept saying, like, on Twitter, I was like, please score the goal, because if we don't score the goal, something might happen. And lo and behold, I think we needed probably 2 or 3 to keep the craziness from, after the incident, to happen. So, Sophie, if I told you a couple of weeks ago that Pepe would be almost undroppable and Xhaka would be electrifying the league, and Pepe would be doing it from the left and Xhaka would be doing it from the right, would you have believed me, or would you think I was crazy?
I would believe you about Xhaka. Play him anywhere. The kid's a baller. He's just a footballer. He can play in so many different positions when needed. And, there are very few footballers that can do that, especially in the modern day game. Wayne Rooney was someone that you could put him anywhere. He's just a footballer, right? Maitland-Niles is a hybrid player who I think that I hope that doesn't come back to bite us in the arse in case we get injuries. But I think Pepe struggled. It's coincidental, isn't it, that with all these players outgoing, he's performing better. And then at the same time, maybe the competition with Willian has lit a fire under his arse. I think there's been complacency in this team, not real competition for places. And I think under Arteta, he's made it clear that just because of the name on the back of the shirt, that doesn't mean that you automatically get into the team. And I think yesterday we saw what most Arsenal fans have been wanting to see, right? Pepe playing on that side, and his goal was fantastic. I heard someone say, he kind of got lucky getting through one of the players because I can't remember which defender it was. I don't know if it was Cody, but going through, he nutmegged him. And it was like poor defending. I think it was more a case of showing his talent and seeing what Pepe finally has to offer. But for me, he's got to do that game after game after game. It can't be just 2 or 3 games, but he's at least strung some really good performances together. And we're finally seeing the player that, we've kind of dreamed of. It's just a shame that after scoring that goal and the team having all the momentum, I mean, Wolves were absolutely crap in the first half. We were all over them. And when Xhaka hit the post in the first minute and a half, guys, I thought, oh, God, please don't let it be one of those games. It just felt like, man, he should have buried that. So as much as we've lauded Xhaka, that was a real missed opportunity. But he's been incredible. He's the future of Arsenal. He's unbelievable talent. He's our Phil Foden. He's our Jack Grealish. He's our Rashford. And I think that he's the kind of player that isn't even hitting a peak yet. We haven't even seen the best of him. So let's see what happens with Pepe and if he can carry on this consistency. And it's going to take a lot for Arteta to pick this team up mentally after losing in the manner in which we did yesterday.
Yeah, I agree. Dan, how did you feel about the first half? Like, did you think that was the best football that we've played, or are we overplaying it a little bit?
No, I don't think we are overplaying it. I thought it was exceptional football. I really did. And I think that, listen, I think you both know I'm not Arteta's biggest fan. I've not been convinced. Yeah, I've not been convinced this season so far. These last 3 games are the only time the whole of this season that I've sat back and thought, you're answering questions for me now. I can see a style. I can see us playing out from the back. I can see high press. I understand the passing in triangles. I think Smith Rowe and Saka have come into the team and infused the likes of Lacazette. He's managed to get Pepe playing in the last 3 games. We're looking at players still coming back into this side, remember, that are going to improve us. Aubameyang, Tierney, Pablo Marie, Gabriel. Thomas Partey has been immense. Absolutely immense, like so far better than anybody else on that pitch. His passing ability is outstanding. Although I thought he was sloppy against Man United, believe it or not, I do think he's heads and shoulders above anybody else in that team. I can't believe he's come to Arsenal, and I can't believe no one else went for him. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like, for no one else to go for him for that much money as well is an absolute steal. He's making Granit Xhaka look good. So for me, I think we're looking at these players now and seeing something the last 3 games, which I can finally be proud of and I can finally get excited about, because I haven't been a happy bunny, to be honest with you. And this game was the epitome of that. For me, it was something special in terms of the passing. The creativity was there. I thought Xhaka, like Sophie said, should have just placed that instead of smashing it. Unfortunately, rush of blood to the head and he's lashed it in. It's come off the post. I think if he had a little bit more calmness about it, that could have just been sort of passed into the net. Lacazette, shame about his foot being offside, because that was a great opportunity for us as well to go. So we're thinking we could be 2 or 3-0 up here now. And like Sophie said, you think, is it going to be one of those days? But Pepe then comes along and does what he hasn't done for a long, long time and scores one of the best solo goals he's probably going to score, albeit a little bit lucky in parts. It was a great finish. And then it all goes well, doesn't it, until that incident right at the end of the first half. And I think that what again makes it easier for me is I'm seeing performances of the last 3 games that I can understand where we're going with it. I was so confused with what we were seeing. I wasn't seeing a style. I was seeing silly substitutions, which I'm sure we'll come on to. I was seeing team selections I didn't agree with. I was seeing players that were getting forced into that side when I didn't think they deserved to be there. It was all a bit of a mess. And what I have seen in the last 3 games is something that I can understand. And that's all I've been asking this manager since September, is show me something different and make me realise that what I'm seeing on the pitch isn't what I should be seeing. And the last 3 games have proven that. And the Wolves game, I would say, yeah, I agree with you, Jess. That probably was the best half of football, apart from the ending, that we've seen all season. So it's such a shame.
Yeah, it really is. I agree with that 100%. And I think over the time that Arteta's been here, I've been pretty much up and down. So now I'm kind of taking it day by day, because I really don't want to just be reactionary. That's kind of how I felt. It's like when we were doing well, I was like, okay, Arteta's the best. And then as soon as he, did something that I didn't like, I was like, okay, he's out. So now I'm kind of in that in-between space where I'm taking it day by day, because we still don't know. Like, I still have questions about Arteta's like substitutions and some of his man management, and those things are not going to go away overnight. But the playing style, like Dan said, is, I think, the biggest thing that we've seen in the last couple of days and the last couple of games. Like you said, the pressing is something that we didn't have before. And I'm not sure if it's just because we have players out there that are willing runners, willing to do the work. I think that's a lot of it, is dropping some of the players that, unfortunately, I think Arteta already knows he's not going to be able to get Aubameyang and Willian and players that think that maybe this is just me, maybe just, it may not be true, but it seems like some of our players that are a little bit on the older side, the more senior players, are not as willing runners, willing to run into space, willing to run after, lost causes and stuff like that. And I think the catalyst to all of this has been that Chelsea game where we saw Martinelli and ESR and Saka just running their socks off. And ever since then, we've seen that even players that weren't doing that before are now starting to do that as well. The high press, having Emile Smith-Rowe in there, Partey being able to string a couple games together, I think has changed everything. So yeah, and we'll circle back around to kind of talk about what that means for us in the future. But I do kind of want to touch on the incident. I think that's what everybody's kind of calling it now, is the incident. Yeah. Dan, do you think that there's anything that David Luiz could have done to prevent that, or was he just unlucky? What do you think?
I think he was pure unlucky. I'm not a huge fan of David Luiz, and he can't help himself, can he? He's a liability. However, if I had to look at it seriously, I think when I first watched the incident, I threw my hands up in the air and said, not again, this guy is a clown. Then when I looked at the replay, I realised actually there wasn't much he could have done about it. It was a pure accident. This is bad defending, don't get me wrong. Him and Holding got split massively there. 2 players that everyone's lauding got absolutely done in that situation and in that incident. He then runs back. He's got caught out of position, and unfortunately it clips his leg and he's gone down. David Luiz, could he have done anything better? Yeah, he could have probably gone in for a tackle, because apparently if you do that, you only get a yellow card. So I think that if you look back at it now, perhaps he could have gone in for a challenge. I think it's a stupid rule. It was an accident. It is a penalty. I just don't agree that it is a sending off. But if the rules are stating that it is, I can't do much about that. But to answer your question, could you have done anything better? I think looking back at it in hindsight, of course, he could have probably made a challenge. But at the time, he's thinking, I'm just going to try and get back. And in his mind, I think he's probably thinking, don't make a challenge, because I normally get sent off for these. I normally give away penalties. And what's happened? He then gets sent off and gives away a penalty. So literally, I look at that situation again, and I do feel a little bit sorry for David Luiz, if I'm honest with you.
Sophie, do you agree with that? I'm going to come around to, I want to get your opinion first.
Sure. Yeah. The most stupid rule. What is it with the modern day football rules? What is it with, in the States, the NFL, they tweak rules every season. And a lot of the times it enhances the game or it makes the game better. I was listening to Xhaka Hislop last night on ESPN FC because I think he was part of the committee that, was approached as the focus group for this particular rule. And, at first you're just mad that we've conceded a penalty and we've given away a red card. And we've gone down to 10 men after completely dominating the game. But in the back of my mind, I'm also thinking teams have won games with 10 men. And sometimes we've actually played better with 10 men back from the Socrates, Ozil, Mustafi days. We've actually been able to do that. But yesterday I was just mad, but today I'm mad at the rule. And unfortunately, what I didn't like was the referee wasn't even willing to just go to the monitor. What's the point in having the monitor? He's been told, obviously, that it's a clear-cut penalty, so he's not going to the monitor. But in that situation, I just think that, they should absolutely make it a rule to have to check the monitor as part of football and part of the game when a penalty is involved. It takes 30 seconds to go over and do it. They do it in most leagues. Why can't the Premier League get this kind of stuff right? And so for me, he barely touched him. You can actually see grass when you blow up that picture. You can see blades of grass in between the stud and David Luiz's knee. And to be fair to him, as he's running in, he almost lifts his arm up as if to say, I'm not making a challenge here. I just thought that was really unfair. And you look back at the Man United Brighton game where Brighton should have had a clear-cut penalty in a similar situation. They give the penalty. The referee went to the screen, comes back, and of course it's Manchester United, and the penalty is rescinded. So the consistency is what drives fans insane. And until they get these kinds of things right, look what's happened with this referee and us this season. We've not won a game that he's officiated in. And what is all the fist pumping at the end of the game with the players, with the Wolves players? I woke up more angry and more livid about the fact that he's fist pumping Moutinho, he's fist pumping Conor Cody as Bellerin's trying to have a conversation with him. What is that? That is unacceptable and unprofessional. And I personally think that he should be banned for those reasons, less on the red card because apparently he's just doing his job. But to be actually fist pumping, I know we've seen Guendouzi hug referees and stuff like that, but in those moments and in that game, I just thought that was just so inappropriate. So, I guess I haven't simmered down much, but, I thought I had. Terrible. It was really a momentum killer. As soon as that happened, I knew we weren't going to win that game. It just felt like the air had gone out of the team. That really affected them mentally, and they never recovered. And Arteta didn't do a good enough job for me at halftime to get them less angry because they came out way too hot in the second half.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think when you look at the game and you see that there was even a similar challenge on Xhaka that was completely waved away and not even looked at as a penalty. But at first I thought that David Luiz might have been able to do something like just completely just step away. Because if you guys do remember in the FA Cup final, Kieran Tierney had a similar situation where he just let Pulisic go and he went in and scored the goal. And he made it obvious I didn't touch him. And I think that's because, in his mind, he could think quick enough and say, if I go and I tackle him now, stick a leg out, it's a penalty, a red card, and we're down in the FA Cup final 5 minutes into the game. So I was thinking maybe David Luiz could have had that same type of like mental, just kind of like, let me stop here. But realistically, he really didn't touch him very much. I think it was super unlucky for David Luiz. And I want to call this a reputation red. I have to, at least in the fact that it wasn't checked for a long amount of time. Where are all the lines? Where are all the stop? Let's look at the play over and over and over again. If you guys remember when Aubameyang stepped on Max Meyer's ankle last season, they played it over and over and over and over again until they made it into a red. So I'm not sure why we don't get the same benefit of the doubt. Why when we go down in the box, it's just waved away and no, nothing. But when we do something, there's no equality whatsoever. And I think, just like Sophie, I'm more irritated at the fact that there's no consistency. There's just none. You don't see it unless they're talking about consistently giving us bad calls, and it's been happening for years.
That's a good one. It's consistent.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's consistent, is that as soon as that, what is his name? William Jose, as soon as he went down, I was like, that's it. Because all they had to do was see the curly hair and the number 23, and he thought, yep,
yeah,
he's out of there.
But think of it, Jess, if we had taken our chances, right, this would be a moot point. We'd be angry, but we'd, by then maybe we should be 3-0 up right, Dan, and as well. And it's like, unfortunately, we just didn't take our chances when we had them. And this costs you in football. We've seen that in terms of how many goals that we've scored. I mean, if you look at the top 10 guys of assists, if you look at the top 10 of goal scorers or the top 5, 6, whatever, we're not even close. We're nowhere near. We haven't created enough chances this season. And that is something that needs to be rectified. And that is a lot to do with the coach and, of course, the players executing. But we've got to be better at that next season. We do.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. That's why, we want to talk about the officiating. I know that that's like kind of like the low hanging fruit here in terms of where we can place our anger. But we also have to think about what led up to this, entire situation unfolding. And I really I have to go back to the missed chances, but also us clicking off and turning off like right before halftime, allowing them to slip that ball in. It really was a ripple effect. So we can't just say it was the refs, but unlucky for us. We're down a man at this point. At halftime, Arteta takes Lacazette out and brings in Gabriel, and Dan, do you think that was like Lacazette was unlucky to get hooked? Do you think that was the most logical person to take out, or maybe we could have subbed ESR out? What do you think?
There's only one player in this squad that can hold the ball up, and it's the guy he's taken off. So I was baffled. I was really surprised. I didn't quite understand it. And then when I look at who's coming on, the last time we had 10 men and we got something out of the game, somebody scored a wonder goal. That somebody was on the bench and didn't even get a game. I was surprised not to see Martinelli. I really was, because I think what you need is that tenacity and that pace up top. So if you're going to replace Lacazette with somebody that is not going to be somebody that you want to hold the ball up, then you give it to somebody who can make something happen. Now, obviously, Aubameyang of old, and we're only talking a few months ago, would be that guy. But at the moment, he's not. And I think that Martinelli, although people are saying he's coming back into the mix, I think you see something special with this kid. And we haven't seen something special with Aubameyang all season. So I was really surprised at who came on and who come on off for. I think sometimes his decisions have been questioned, and I've certainly been one to do that. But I don't think he helps himself, Arteta. I mean, I was waiting for Eddie Nketiah to come on. Luckily, he wasn't selected, because that's the most subbed man I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I can't understand the logic there whatsoever. So I think when you look at the situation and think, this game has completely changed, we need something now. Gabriel coming on is absolutely fine, because you put your centre-half on next to Rob Holding from the one who's just been sent off. Bringing off Lacazette for me was baffling. And I think that if you're going to then bring somebody else on, I would have made it Martinelli, because I think that there's somebody there that knows what it's like to go and do something special against Chelsea as he did last season. And who knows, something could have happened there. Aubameyang, I'll get it right in a minute. Aubameyang had his chance at the end, and it just didn't look like half a chance to me. It came a little bit behind him, which is perhaps unfair, but I thought he could have done a little bit better with that chance. But Sophie's right. Listen, we haven't been finishing our dinner for most of the season. We've fluffed a lot of chances. Remember when we went through those chances against Liverpool where Lacazette goes through and Alisson saves it? Should have been in. Man City, Saka had 2 chances that Ederson saved. Should have been in. Against Leicester, Lacazette was pretty much standing on the line and missed it. So I look at those sort of chances that have made us kind of go back and worry and wonder what could have been if they would have been in. So this isn't new. Missing our chances, 2 or 3-0 up against Wolves, but we weren't. It's always in hindsight. It's always a what if with Arsenal. Always a what if.
I completely agree. You know, and I question the substitutions. I really do. I question the Pepe one, but I really question the Lacazette one because it just didn't make sense to me to take off somebody who can, like you said, hold up the ball. It really made no sense. You know, ESR, like Smith Rowe, love Smith Rowe. He was dead on his feet at that point. There's nothing he could have done for us at that point. I think you take ESR off and you leave Lacazette in so that he can hold the ball up and just come a little bit deeper. But to me, I was trying to figure out, like, are we just going through the motions? Is there no game plan? Because at halftime, I still thought we had a chance. Wolves were crap. I still, maybe I was delusional, but I still expected us to at least tie the game, at the very least. I still thought we could have went on and won it. Sophie, what did you think about the substitutions as a whole? You know, Aubameyang coming on for Pepe, you know,
I think I agree with both of you on this one completely. I think ESR looked gassed, you know, and with Aston Villa coming up, you could argue that maybe Odegaard should play against Villa. He looks tired. He looks like he needs to be rested. But these were the two games where we needed to get 3 points, 100%, especially because Villa have 2 games in hand and we have to beat Villa. You know, because if they win their games in hand, even they get a little further away from us in the table as well. So for me, I think Arteta made those subs with the intent to just try and get a point out of this game. Wow. If he'd have substituted ESR, not brought on Gabriel, I'd think, you know what, he still thinks we can nick this. We can just throw someone up front, manage the game at the back. They really weren't creating any chances. They weren't threatening us other than splitting Holding and Luiz right there at the end, as Dan said earlier. And I felt like, you know, we could go on and win this. But to me, it felt like he didn't think maybe that we could, and he was willing to settle for the point. That's just my opinion. I don't know that as a fact. I wasn't in the dressing room, but the substitution shows you Lacazette also is a leader, and he's one of very few leaders on the pitch. The young players gravitate to him. He's inspired them on and off the pitch. He leads by example by his work rate, whether he's got the ball or he's off the ball. One of the most underappreciated players, a little bit like Olivier Giroud. Fans didn't know what they had until it was gone. And Lacazette has been consistent. He's put his head down. He's fought for his place. He went through a terrible patch of form, but he's the kind of player right now that really leads by example. So I thought that was a really big mistake. Aubameyang's just been through a life experience. From what we understand, he almost lost his mum. Then he goes into quarantine. Was he really ready to come on and play in a game like this, where we needed to fight tooth and nail and maybe get a little bit dirty? He hasn't exemplified those examples this season. I adore Aubameyang. He saved us for 2 seasons, almost won the Golden Boot playing on the left, where everyone's complaining about the fact that he's playing on the left this season. So to me, it just felt like Arteta got that wrong. And it's okay to say that he got the subs wrong and not want the guy fired. This is another thing that Dan and I talk about all the time, Jess, because people come at us because we have an opinion about how he manages the game, okay? And I think after we went down to 10 men, he missed the moment. He really missed the moment and he didn't make the right decision. Now, I also think that at halftime, you have to mentally prepare the players, and the players have to actually prepare themselves in that how we have to go out, not get into any trouble. Xhaka got that yellow card. Now he's playing with a yellow card. So it felt like we lost. We were so angry that we weren't ready for that second half. Right. And I think taking Lacazette off, sometimes certain substitutions also affect players. So for me, I think that he got that wrong completely. And I wouldn't have taken Pepe was at that point, like Dan said, you need a Martinelli or a Saka or a Pepe who can turn a game without anybody else helping them because they're that talented. And I think that's really, he really mismanaged that, which is a shame.
Yeah. And I know it may seem like we're nitpicking and, you know, as soon as, you know, David Luiz got the red card, that all was lost. But I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I really don't think that. I think that Wolves were so bad that even with 10 men, we should have been able to scrape something with that. And clearly, to me, I'm going to say this, and I don't want to be like nitpicking towards Thomas Partey, but I do think that maybe if he was mentally all the way into the game, he would have been a little bit closer to Matinho. If you watch the clip back, he could have gotten a little bit closer, and maybe that would have stopped him from scoring the golazo or whatever. But I'm just nitpicking at this point. But I do think that, going down to 10 men doesn't automatically mean that we can't analyze the game any further after that and it's just all lost. It's not. There's still decisions that we could have made, and taking off Lacazette to me was a mistake. I agree with Sophie on that. And I also think bringing on Aubameyang and Pepe is the type of player that you keep on in a game like that if Martinelli is not fit. So we may seem like we're nitpicking, but we still need to analyze the game because there was still 45 minutes after the red card to be talked about.
Exactly.
So Matinho scores, and it's 2-1 at that point. That was, I don't know, in the 60th something minute. But then Leno in the 72nd minute had a brain fart, if that's what we want to call it. He comes out, he uses his hand outside of the box. Dan, in your opinion, is this something that can be justified in some way, or is it unforgivable?
No, it's unforgivable. It's unforgivable. You can't listen. I've been a massive fan of Leno, and I've stuck up for him a lot because I think that he gets unfair criticism. I think everybody is so obsessed with Emi Martinez that they've just threw a load of abuse at this guy. When I don't even think he's been a bad goalkeeper. I think he's actually been. I'd go as far as to say he's been the most consistent player in the last couple of seasons for us, along with Aubameyang, up until this season. So when people started giving him a lot of abuse, I thought it was a bit harsh. When a goalkeeper drops the ball, makes a mistake, that's what happens. Normally, 9 times out of 10, it's a goal. When you misjudge something that bad, it's just poor. There's no other word to describe it than poor. And you can come out and say he's tried to rectify it. The only way to rectify that, if you misjudge it, is to either head it, chest it, or boot it. Don't use your hands. You know you're out. He knew straight away. He could see. As soon as he blew the whistle, he just kind of went, oh, dear. I'll know what's coming now. And I don't think I can excuse that. It's a madness moment. The David Luiz one I could half excuse because I'm still not sure that it's a red card, and I'm still not sure that he meant it. With Leno, I don't think he knows what's happening there. He's misjudged the whole ball. He's tried to get away with something really silly, and I don't think you can excuse that. So the game, for me, I was a bit like you, Jess. I thought, you know what? We're playing well enough. With 10 men, let's try and get something out of this. I don't care what it is. Play well, keep your performance up. Even if you don't nick the point, play well. Leno just killed it for us, unfortunately, then. There was no way back from that. And we saw last night against Manchester United, Southampton, what can happen against 9 men. So I was just happy after the game to see that we didn't lose by that amount, because Southampton, I think, gave up. With us, we tried to fight to the end. With 9 men, it's impossible to get anything from that game. So Leno, unfortunately, I can't excuse it. I can't excuse it at all.
I can't either. And I think this goes back to what Sophie was saying about halftime and Arteta's ability to not only galvanize the team, but calm them down so that they can make the right decisions when they're out there. And this is a part of that. Leno comes off of the field and he's arguing with the refs when what are we arguing about? You handballed it outside of the box. What do you mean?
Right.
You had your head, you had your chest, you had your knee, you had your foot, and you decided to use your hand. That means that you were not, you were not mentally there. Like you just, you made a mistake, and it's costing us, because I want Arsenal sometimes to just lose and not let the loss continue on past that game. We never just lose. We lose. We have people out past then. We get more injuries. We do this, we do that, and it's unfortunate. I've always had my reservations about Leno. It's hard to come out with saying something about Leno because he saves us all the time. But to be honest, guys, he's paid to save us. That's his job. To me, I'm not going to give him extra flowers for doing his job, but I am going to be kind of unforgiving if you come out and do something like that. We have Runnerson in the goal next against Grealish and co. In the weekend. What are we going to do with that in a must-win game?
Is Matt Ryan definitely out? Matt Ryan's 100% injured, is he?
He might not be able to play in that game. At the beginning of the show when I said momentum and the importance of, he's found, like Dan said too, he's found a formula. He's found a team. This team seems to have more of an identity now, right? You kind of can see him forming the team in his image. I say this a lot on our show. Really good managers have a team, create a team in their image, their character, their personality. We see that with Klopp. We've seen that with Antonio Conte. We see it with Pep. It's important, right? And we're building towards something. And Leno had 5 clean sheets. I mean, and he has been really under fire because he must have felt the Emmy love. It wasn't easy for him to come in and perform. And he's got to read all that stuff and see all that stuff. And maybe he doesn't, but they know it. They feel it. They do see it. And so to lose him in this manner is just ridiculous. Like, what he did was ridiculous. It was such a boneheaded move. It's kind of like when you're out at night and you get really drunk and you do something so stupid. You wake up in the morning and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And you've got all this remorse and you just feel terrible. And he just made the biggest mistake, one of the biggest mistakes of the season. And now hopefully, you know, he hasn't cost us, but with a goalkeeper that in form, 5 clean sheets, it's going to be really difficult to overcome that. And these red cards, Arteta needs to fix this. 9 red cards. As I said, the other team's coming up behind us, 3 red cards. Discipline is an issue. And I thought we had got past it, Jess, but clearly, you know, we haven't. And I just cannot believe that he did that. He deserves, I would fine him. 2 things I would fine players off. Doing stuff like that and not clearing the first defender on a corner. I'd have a little kitty. They have to put money in the kitty and that money goes to charity. That's what I would do.
You'd make a charity very happy with our corners. Jesus.
And I just want to say this before we get off of this subject, that when you're a team like Arsenal and you're on the fringes of European competition and every single game is like your last, you know, every single point really, really matters. And we can't compensate for a lot because we're not there yet as a team. Mistakes like this really matter. And we will look back at the end of the season if we do miss out on European competition by a point or so. We will look back at stuff like this. It's just like if you guys think back to the Olympiacos game, the second leg where we got kicked out of the Europa League. Leno was also at fault there for not kicking the ball out. See, you see how good my memory is?
Yeah, I was there for that game. Yes, I was there for that game. Yeah, that was brilliant.
All he had to do was kick that ball out into the stands, but he turned around and kicked it out for a corner with no pressure on him. And guess who was standing right next to him? David Luiz. See what I'm saying? Like, that cost us. You know, luckily we were able to, you know, qualify for Europa League through the FA Cup. But games like this will come back to bite us. So it may seem like, well, you know, everybody makes a mistake. Not when you're a team on the fringes like we are, where we're constantly being told we don't have any money, we need to qualify for Europe. So it's not just he made a mistake this time. This was a huge mistake, and I hope it doesn't come back to bite us, but usually it does. So you guys go ahead and get your questions in now. Everybody in the chat box, we're going to kind of talk about what this means for us moving forward. And I want Sophie and Dan to be able to answer your questions. So just make it obvious that it's a question and we'll go ahead and get to them. And just like C. Finnan says, everybody hit the like, subscribe to the channel, and don't be afraid to put your questions out there. Let's see. But yeah, I did want to kind of round back to the beginning and the first half and what Arsenal playing in that way means for us moving forward. I know that Dan was talking about we have a style now and it looks like we're moving in the right direction. What do you guys think is the realistic goal for us now, kind of in the midst of mid-table, dropping points? What do you think is the highest that we could possibly finish, Dan, in your opinion?
I've never been optimistic about league positions the whole of this season because I see the way that we're playing and I see stuff like last night happen. So I've never really thought that we were ever going to get higher than 8th from last season. This season's crazy and everyone's dropping points. Everybody is beating everybody. I never would have thought Sheffield United would have beaten Manchester United. I lost 2 bets at the weekend because Leicester lost to Leeds and Everton lost to Newcastle. Crazy season. Crazy season. But what I will say is we are so inconsistent that I think 8th place is probably realistic. I hope I'm wrong. Listen, I hope we can still get as high at the league as possible. But if you was to ask me, where do you think we'll come? I reckon it's 8th. What should be our target? highest up the table we can get. And I think top 6 would probably be where we should be aiming for right now, because I don't believe top 4 has ever been realistic, because we're relying on teams to lose 3 games in hand now, some of them. I mean, if Leeds and Crystal Palace win their, and Southampton will win their games in hand, they all go above us, don't they? So we're back down into 12th. So I think we need to be realistic, and let's not get too unrealistic in terms of the optimism for top 4, because there's definitely 4 teams better than us in this league. 100%. There's more
I can't believe people are
4.
still even talking about top 4. It's just like
it's
unbelievable. Unbelievable. I would put all my eggs in the Europa League basket, because if I would have said to you girls this time last year that we're going to win the FA Cup, you would have said I would have been buzzing, and we won it. So why can't we go all the way in the Europa League? It's a cup competition. We are playing football that I think people would not like to play against. We're not conceding goals 4-5s a game. And also, I don't think the other English teams in this competition in terms of the Europa League are actually playing amazing football. I look at Leicester, they're losing silly games. Manchester United aren't that great. The table, unbelievable that they are where they are in that league. And Spurs have gone Spursy. So let's just sit there and take that into account, that Napoli and AC Milan are good sides, but again, they're not killing it in the Serie A. They're doing well, but they're not like, wow, no one can touch them. Villarreal is a team that we'll know very much about in terms of Unai Emery, but again, they're not doing amazing.
That would be so funny if we met up with them.
Football works that way. Wait and see. I'm telling you, we can get past Benfica. Milan are top of Serie A, aren't they? Oh, are they
Milan and Inter Milan are fighting out. They're basically like the old days, the Milans. Obviously, Roma as well, Bayer Leverkusen. There's some teams in it that are good.
Mkhitaryan, we could meet Mickey.
Yeah, we could meet Mickey again. So I look at it and I think, actually, do you know what? I fancy us more in the Europa League than I do to get anywhere near top 4. I really do, because this Premier League is crazy. And I think we have proven that we're a cup team, and we're proven with this manager, whether you love him or hate him, and I'm still unconvinced, trust me, he's proven that he can get us up for big games. And we seem to do well against big teams. So let's hope that that's a good omen going into this competition. I'm still fuming at him, by the way, for dumping us out the cup like he did. I can't forgive him for that. And like everyone's saying to me, the league's more important. Well, how did that work out? Not very well. Now we're at the FA Cup. Well done, Mikel. So I can't forgive him for that. So I think, go on, Soph. I
was just going to jump on what you're saying, because this season, once again, has proved that we're a really good cup team and we are not ready to compete in the Premier League. It is another stark reminder that we've got a long way to go to be competitive in the Premier League. The beginning of the season, they asked me on the show, what do I want? I said, I just want to be competitive in the Premier League again. I'm not saying we can win it. Just be competitive and win Europa League and get back into the Champions League through Europa League. Why? Because we're a really good team on one-off games. Look at our recent history. We've won 4 FA Cups in 6.5 years, 7 years almost, right? And in one-off games, we seem to be able to have that mental strength, which we're lacking over 30 plus games in the Premier League. That's the difference with this team, as well as trying to improve the culture of the football and the style we play on the pitch. What we're trying to do is also change that mentality. And I still think we've got work to do when it comes to mental conditioning. And we see that time and time again, week after week. So if we've learned anything this season, once again, we're a cup team, which is why Arteta made a real big mistake. I was willing to sacrifice the FA Cup if it meant being competitive in the Premier League. But seeing as we weren't, we should have gone balls out to stay in that competition. Again, it's another route to Europe. And so I think that was a bit of a faux pas. And I think maybe sometimes he has a bit of an ego and he's a little stubborn, like Pep Guardiola. And that worries me sometimes, because I think his ambition, and he should be ambitious, was I can turn this around. I can get us into the top 4. And it hasn't happened. And we're not ready for that. We're just not. We're 4 or 5 players away from being able to even do that. I know United changed their fortunes with 1 player, but United had more pieces in place than us. I think we still have pieces, and you could also
have the refs on their side as well, Sophie. Yeah. So,
and that's true. You could also argue that we need if Aubameyang's going to carry on this form, we need like a prolific striker. We need like a Thuram to come to the Arsenal. Dan and I really like him, and he's been someone that we've talked about in the past. I think we need to look and see how we're going to be able to improve that. So, yeah, I mean, we've got to go balls out in the Europa League. Totally agree.
For sure. Okay, let's go ahead and get into these questions. Sophie, I'm going to stay with you.
Mm-hmm.
We set up differently knowing we have an iffy goalkeeper on Saturday, or just play like we normally would? This is from Matthew D'Souza.
Can we play 2 goalkeepers?
You might need to. That's the reality.
I think we've seen look, David Luiz had a really good game against United. He was man of the match, and they were having a decent game against Wolves. But positionally, Rob Holding plays a lot better when he has a more intelligent football brain next to him, like a Per Mertesacker, like a Pablo Mari, because they don't have pace, but they're smart about how they play football and the positions they put them in, elevate other players around them. And I think that we've missed that a little bit. Even though we've gone on this run, you can still see against better teams, we could be in trouble. I mean, look what happened against Wolves. So I don't know if he does anything differently other than if Ryan is fit, I think it's going to be okay. If it's Runnison, the confidence for the defense, let alone him himself, is going to be really difficult. It's really scary because Villa put 7 past Liverpool and we're not Liverpool. So it's a real worry. I don't know how else, Dan, he could set up to make it, make it more sturdy at the back there.
Yeah, you're right. He can go free at the back, but I don't think he will. I think he'll keep it the way he is. I think when Runnison actually played, I said to my dad, I said, do you know what? A couple of good saves from the lad. I'll give him that. And then he starts messing around playing ping pong at the back, kicking out for corners. And I'm thinking, no, okay, I'll take it back. I hope Matt Ryan's fit. I hope Matt Ryan is fit.
That's what we really need.
Yeah, we need him to be fit because Runnison doesn't fill me with any confidence. And who the hell signed him, by the way? That's another bloody sacking needed there. What recruitment is this sometimes? Jesus Christ.
Apparently we consulted the goalkeeper coach,
apparently
Inaki, and I hope we never, ever, ever
consult him
again. Unbelievable.
Okay. Matthew has another question, and Dan, I'll go to you with this one. I want Arteta to give Pepe an extended run, even if that means playing when Xhaka is rested. Will Arteta do that, or feel he has to play Aubameyang?
It's a good question.
I've been asking Arteta to play the players that deserve to be playing throughout the whole season. So it would be hypocritical of me now to say dump Pepe out because Aubameyang's back, because Aubameyang's not the one in form. Pepe, the last 3 games, has shown us that he's got something there. There's a player there. I'm not quite sure if we're going to see it at Arsenal, but there is a player there. I wanted to see him in a position other than on the right-hand side, and so far it's working. I think Saka is the best in that right-hand side position, and I think that if you're going to play Pepe, it needs to be either ahead of Smith Rowe or on the left. At the moment, Smith Rowe's playing too well to drop him, so I think that Pepe needs to be given a run on the left-hand side now. I don't think he will, and the reason I say he won't is because Arteta seems to not like Pepe. I don't know why. He just seems to not like him. There's been a few situations with him where he's thrown him under the bus. One example of that is coming out in an interview and calling him a disgrace for getting sent off. Yet when Xhaka gets sent off, it's okay. He's just a little bit too passionate. That's not right. So for me, Pepe needs to be given a run because he deserves it. When I've seen Pepe play up top or in a number 10 role, he's killed it. He's given defences an absolutely torrid time. He did it in the FA Cup final against Chelsea, where he played there in the second half for most of it. And he did it at Anfield under Unai Emery when him and Aubameyang played up front. And he was still, I believe, don't quote me on it, the only player to dribble past Van Dijk last season was Pepe, because he was playing in the middle. I would give him a run, and I would just play a system that suits this kid and watch him shine, because he has got bags of talent, bags and bags of it.
I think also in terms of like resource management, it's important to keep Pepe out there on the field. With Aubameyang, he's going to run hit, like no matter what happens with him when he leaves, he's going to leave on a free. So that money is gone, but in terms of Pepe, whether we just decide to keep him or not, it's better for us for him to look good and play games and get a run of form. So if he's playing well now, there's no reason to rip him out of the squad, especially if he's playing well. And I'm going to be really honest. I think this is our best front 3 right now. Front 4, actually. Pepe, Lacazette, Xhaka, and ESR. I think it picks itself. The only reason why you bring Aubameyang in is because you feel like you have to, because of the name on the back of the shirt. That's it. There's no other reason why you'd be doing that. I mean, we're going to have to pay him the money regardless. But in terms of Pepe, if we wanted to, at this point, I'm hoping that he stays. But if we had to sell him, wouldn't it be better for us if he played for the rest of the season and played well, rather than letting him rot on the bench and then asking somebody for crazy money when we know we didn't do the right thing to even earn that money? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I think Pepe has to stay in the side.
His value went up in the last 3 games. His value diminished. So his value's gone back up, right? And also, I can't remember what stat it is, Jess, but his stats are a lot better than what you see on the pitch. He flatters to deceive when it comes to the stats. I think he's the second player after, I can't remember who it is, and I'll have to check I'm having a bit of a brain fart myself here, like Leno. But passing, assists and stuff, I think he's second. And it's really interesting if you look at that stat, because it doesn't seem like he's had that many chances. And you can't drop a player when he's on form like this, who can change a game on a whim. And especially against a Villa where they've got Grealish, who can change the game on a whim. We need players out there that can do the same. So it would be really bad management to not start him, because he's also the kind of player that plays with confidence, and he needs regular football to continue the momentum and his form. And I think Arteta will be really wrong if he dumps him against Villa. Yeah,
I agree. But you guys, this is my friend Maxwell. That's my boy, and he said
Maxwell.
He thinks Pepe will be dropped on Saturday, and if he drops him, I'm going to be so angry. Like, he's 25 years old. He can play multiple. First of all, he hasn't played all season, so he can have a run of games now, and he should. There's no reason to even bring Aubameyang. Like, there's nobody fighting him for that spot. Martinelli is not fit, clearly. And Aubameyang is not, he hasn't been around either. So, I mean, I just don't understand why we've seen
him do it before with players. Yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me.
Okay, Lone Star Londoner has a question for Sophie. You know how many cups of tea I have split, or I think he meant split, dropped, or literally thrown against the wall because of clown like David Luiz. I can't do this anymore.
Bless.
I don't think I can do another year. Do you guys think you can do another year? I mean, there was talks of another a contract extension.
Just let him go, man.
Yeah, if Arteta really wants to move this team forward, we've got to move on from players like that. And there's no disrespect to David Luiz. There's times where he's been really good for us, and he's been an actual leader, and clearly they like him in the dressing room. He's very popular with the players, and that's really important when you have a young crop of players coming through. But I don't think we do that. And by the way, my partner was on a business call yesterday when that whole thing, when Leno got sent off. And let's just say her entire meeting heard, me yelling and me going nuts and crazy. I mean, I don't know what I had in my hands. I think I was holding my mobile phone, which I didn't throw against the TV, thank goodness. But man, yeah, I can imagine. No more spilling tea. Let's drink it instead, and let's move on and not have players like that in the team if we really want to rebuild for next season.
Yeah, I think that was a good reminder that even though we got rid of Mustafi, we still left a little bit behind, and that's David Luiz. He's right up there with the players that have the most traumatic, memories for me. I know he's not a bad player. I get it, experience and all that kind of stuff, but I can't take another. Yeah, no, I can't take it.
It's time to move on. It's time to move on. And Chambers and El Neni and all those. I would actually, for now, keep Xhaka just because of the way he's playing with Partey. But again, if we want to move up the table, be more competitive, you got to go get Thomas Partey, the right team. Look what we did. We wasted the Alexis Sanchez, Santi, Ozil years by not building around them. We'd only sign one marquee player a year, and the board and the owners would say, hey, be happy, be excited. This is now the time in the last 18 months where we're really starting to we've spent more money. We've really started to put players in different positions. But now you've got to back the Tierney, Saka, ESR, Martinelli, Partey, Gabriel era. And you've got to do it, because it will be another wasted chapter in Arsenal's history books, unfortunately.
True. I was saying this on my little rant stream, that embarrassing stream that I did yesterday. I'm so embarrassed that I did that. But I was saying that it's strange to me how we bought Xhaka, and at the time he was like 35 million, which is a lot to invest in a player. Mm-hmm. And we brought him in, and he's played under 4 managers and under at least 2 regimes at this point, and nobody's thought to put him next to an athletic box-to-box player that could help him out because he's immobile. Why does it take this long? He's been at the club, just had his 200th game for us, here for 5 years. Why don't we ever build the squad? Why do we just, if it was that simple, I still don't think Xhaka is the long-term, answer. But if you're going to invest that amount of money on somebody, I think it's like resource management 101, like make sure that your investment is built around so it works for you. And wow.
Kevin says that all the time on the show, Jess, about the fact that, we haven't really for 10 years, it's taken us 10 years, to get a player like Thomas Partey to resolve that issue. Exactly. It's taken us how many years to get Koscielny was probably, Mertesacker, but also injury prone, right? Vermaelen injury prone. Koscielny was injury prone. We have to, if we want to compete, we've got to get better quality. We just really do.
Yeah. I wanted to ask Dan something about Xhaka, but I just feel like it's like a trigger. Like, I don't know if I'm going to do it. I don't, because I think he's, I'm not a Xhaka lover. I've been killed online multiple times about talking about Xhaka, but I think he's played well. I think he's been playing well.
Yeah. So do I.
But I still want Bissouma in the summer. Like, I still want Bissouma.
Yeah, Bissouma would partner Thomas Partey much better. Listen, Xhaka, the best way to explain Granit Xhaka, he's a guy who gets out of jail and goes and robs a bank. You're just waiting for him to do something. I just can't stand players like that, man.
But he's really smart, though. Have you guys noticed that? He's really smart. He's intelligent in the way where he knows where his bread is buttered, like what side. Like he knows to get close to Arteta. He knows how to look professional, look the part, be the captain. To me, he's a Swiss version of Arteta. And I think he knows that that's probably why Arteta likes him. And I think he knows what to do. Mm-hmm. He knew exactly what to do. He knew that when he got his chance to play with Thomas Partey, he needed to do a good job to make sure that Danny and Elneny never played again. He put them in the dirt.
When I met the team here in LA, Xhaka was the most impressive for me in terms of professionalism, how he carried himself, how he spoke to the media, how the players behaved around him. And I was really impressed. And I could understand why a couple of managers have made him captain. I can totally see that. Unfortunately, it's a little bit like, not to reference the NFL again, but Tom Brady, is a great quarterback. He's won 6 rings. He could win his 7th. There's been times where he's had weapons around him and not, and sometimes he's done it on his own. Xhaka's the type of player that needs weapons around him to be able to function. Mm-hmm. And right now you're seeing him next to, like Dan said, we stole Thomas Partey from Atletico Madrid. I mean, it's unbelievable that he's come to Arsenal. To see that type of quality player, what a difference that guy makes. He's complete mustard. I want to wrap him up in cotton wool. Saka, Tierney. I'm so worried about Tierney being injury prone, to be honest with you. But I can see why Xhaka, is a leader on this team, having seen it firsthand as well. Doesn't mean he's a great player, though. Don't get me wrong. Don't start throwing darts, everyone.
Yeah, true. I agree with that.
I think with Xhaka, listen, I've just to wrap up on Granit Xhaka, I think that he is a player who has good games. And I will say when he has good games, 100%. My problem with it is I've seen him let us down too many times over the last 4 years, and I've seen him make the same mistakes. And when players make the same mistakes, that frustrates me. I've seen him hack players, I've seen him pass the ball wrong, I've seen him pass the ball back wrong, and that just frustrates the hell out of me. A bit like with David Luiz and Mustafi. In terms of what I believe going forward with Granit Xhaka, if we're going to stay him in the side, we're going to have somebody with no athleticism. We're going to have somebody who's a one-trick pony who can literally have a left foot, and that is pretty much all it is. I want to see more than that in midfield going forward. And if Bissouma is that man, brilliant. If it's not Bissouma, if it's Samare, Sangare, whoever it be, let's just get that man in to partner Thomas Partey, because we can do better than Xhaka, 100%.
All right, there you have it. Well, I've had so much fun on this stream with you guys. Thank you, Sophie and Dan, for being here and being the guest instead of the host this time. How did you guys like it? Was it fun?
Loved it.
Yeah, you're doing. I just wanted to say that I love seeing women talk football, and especially like seeing younger voices come through. And you're doing a great job. Keep it up. You have a really good insight. Your football knowledge is fantastic. From tactics to the history, remembering Leno taking that dodgy corner in the Europa League against Olympiacos. It's really good to see you, what you're doing and growing, and however we can support you, we will. And we are looking forward to hosting you on the Highbury Squad on Friday.
Yes, you guys will be on the Highbury Squad on Friday, so look out for that. And you guys always know that you can follow me on Twitter at It's Jessinho. And Sophie, really quick, where can they find you?
We're at Highbury Squad, and if you want to follow me, at Soccer Diva on Twitter. And of course, check out our YouTube channel. We've got a lot of different content on there, not just game day content as well. So thanks for letting us have a chat on your show, and some really good comments from your listeners, some smart folks you have there in your chat room.
Yes. Dan, where can they find you?
Jess, been an absolute pleasure coming on. I love you, man. You're welcome on our show anytime as well. If anyone wants to come and follow myself, it's at DanArsenal87, or if you want to come and follow the podcast, it's at Same Old AFC. Same Old Arsenal is on every Monday and every Friday from 7:00. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Please come and follow Jess and support this channel. She's a great girl and she's got some good content and is very knowledgeable. So I echo what Sophie says. Me and Sophie are extremely close, and we will always support podcasts that we are welcome on. So thank you very much, Jess.
Definitely.
All right, you guys, it's been fun, but we got to get out of here. So I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Bye, everyone.